Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings. How are you doing today? What are we all up to? Sorry I was missing yesterday. I've been watching loads of videos and learning things and reading things and watching all sorts of things I wouldn't normally, rather than listening to the sound of my own voice, which, by the way, I hate. I guess everybody feels like that. You always sound different from behind your mouth than you do in front of it. I'm going to wait and see what the Netflix thing brings up on Thursday and reserve judgment until I see it. I imagine that will be where all the bombs and grenades go off, if at all. I also suspect that there might be some editing, last minute editing going on at Netflix or the production company for Netflix. They're probably gauging public reaction, possibly fact checking a few things before putting something out there. I don't know. I feel there'll be discussions being shouted down telephones at the moment and lots of stuff going on. I've been watching a guy this morning on the recommendation of one of you lovely guys. I'd never heard of him before, and he certainly doesn't need a shout out from me because he's got something like 250,000 subscribers. He's called the DUI guy. I think I've got that right. And he was interviewing a guy called Jason Goodman. Hope I've got his name right as well. Now, I've heard the name Jason Goodman before. I've heard Sue Smith talk about Jason, who has had issues with Christopher Boozy. Now, this DUI guy, YouTuber, appears to me to be a lawyer, and they were discussing Jason is apparently taking legal action against Christopher Boozy. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it was a really interesting video. I would recommend go and have a look at it. So it's the DUI guy interview with Jason Goodman. There is reference to Yankee Wally in it and Christopher Boozy. And really, really clever, intelligent guys. Now, it got me really thinking about something I've been thinking about for a while now. Are we being governed by our own democratically elected politicians, whether they may be useless or useful, or are we actually being governed by social media? And for some time now, I've actually felt that unless I accept the fact that I must take all my legal, financial and medical advice from social media, I'm a wrong 'un. Now, I don't want to talk about any specific illnesses, for obvious reasons, or any specific cures or remedies for those particular illnesses, but since when does social media dictate that if I have a particular illness, I must therefore accept a particular medication across the board, whether that be pill form, liquid form, or injection? Since when do I have to take the dictatorial medical advice from social media generally? Taking one sort of exaggeration. Well, I don't. That's between me and my doctor. That's between you and your doctor. I would imagine, and I'm not a medical professional, but I would imagine most doctors and nurses would say, we're all individuals. I don't believe any doctor would prescribe medicine completely for everyone in society. They'd probably want to do blood tests. They'd probably want to take blood pressure. There'd be lots of things they'd look at before prescribing a particular type of medication, and that's the way it should be. So since when is it, and it does seem that there are people on social media who dictate, you must accept this remedy, otherwise you're a wrong 'un. In the same respect, financial advice, legal advice, it's ever more taking over our lives. And there do seem to be sort of witch hunts, or if you don't think a particular way politically speaking, you're bad. Or if you think another way, or it's even gone further than that, if you dare to ask a question. If you even dare to ask a question. And I bring you back to the DUI guy and Jason Goodman, because although they're not talking about illnesses or remedies or anything like that, what they are talking about is freedom of speech. And looking at Trevor's case, for example, I see Lawrence Fox last night. He didn't name Trevor, but I'm certain that's who he was talking about. A YouTuber, a veteran who's been silenced. Is it just me, or is this really, really dangerous territory that we're seen to be sleepwalking into, and have been for some time? And I've only recently, I'd say since becoming aware of the Christopher Boozy and Yankee Wally situation, I've really seen how people can be targeted and driven off the internet for daring to ask questions or have a different point of view. So that's really the sort of stuff I've been reading up on. And I was surprised myself the other day reading about the Magna Carta. I had no idea it bore any influence on the American Constitution. And the reason that we really don't know, us Brits, about the American Constitution is because we lost the war. It's not popular to have it on the curriculum. It's more something I think people would study as they get older, but they don't teach it in the schools. You know, we fucked up there, they got their independence. They don't like to talk about that sort of thing. Although equally, I don't remember them teaching us about the Second World War either when I was at school. But I do think there's sort of a... and when things go viral, that just becomes it. I mean, I don't want to be on the wrong end of... it makes people not want to say anything. It's making me not want to say it at the moment. But when the whole Ukraine situation came up, it made me think straight away, what's been happening? I have a million questions. But there seemed to be this sort of blinkered acceptance across social media, whether people even knew where the Ukraine was or not, that this is what the path you must follow. This is the right path, and if you go this way, you're a bad person. Then you're going to be ostracised on social media or driven off social media. And I think I have in the past fallen victim to that myself over the years. Sort of thinking, oh, this is the right way to be and this is the wrong way to be, and sort of seeing life. I think when you're younger you see things a lot more black and white, and as you get older you start to see the shades of grey, many shades of grey, and how we should all be able to discuss amongst ourselves ideas, and at any point when we're told no, you're not even allowed to ask a question, that's we're in trouble by the time that comes along. So that's why I've been missing. And I have been keeping up on the news, on the Markle debacle. There's not that much forthcoming. And I don't want to say too much until Thursday. And I'll explain that to you after I've seen the Netflix. Because I want things to run their course. And I don't want to say something which... some people might think, oh, she's got a point, we'd better edit that. So I don't want to elaborate too much on that. But do you think that social media is now running our lives rather than the politicians that have been elected? I mean, politicians, most people are very critical of politicians. They're all useless. I'm sure they're not all useless, but it comes across that way quite a lot. And I think... because all my life, my mum was a politician. They go by polls, and my parents always used to say, never believe the polls. And I think these days, politicians have a tendency, if they see something trending on social media, they look at that as an immediate poll. It's free, actually. You know, they pay a lot of money for pollsters. Now they've got social media, and they think, oh, the public like that, let's do that. But then if there's millions of bots out there, that could be very misleading. And that's not what the public want at all. It's a load of bots. Some rich person somewhere has purchased bots and made it look like that's what the public want. So I think it's very dangerous for politicians, if any of them out there are doing that. And I get the impression they do. Don't follow social media, because it could be misleading. Very, very misleading as to what people are actually thinking. I think the best way is to stop silencing people, stop silencing YouTubers. Unless there's hate speech they're threatening people, they're harassing people, they're defaming people, you know, all the common sense things. If they're just talking, that's a really good way of gauging, because if what they're saying people don't like, you'll see that in that YouTuber's comments. You'll see that on their channel. If they like what they're saying, you can read the comments, think, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh yeah, maybe the public see it that way. I think we're living in very, very interesting times at the moment, but equally, they could be very dangerous times. And I see a lot of people saying, if only Elon would buy YouTube. Yeah, that would be one dude owning Twitter and YouTube. Be careful of that, equally. And I think Mr. Musk might even agree with me, apart from the fact it would be a horrendously expensive and complicated legal thing for him to do so soon on the follow-up of buying Twitter. I think he might agree with me. I also hear a lot of people say the American Constitution doesn't apply to private corporations. Well, again, I'd recommend you go and listen to the DUI YouTuber, because he is a lawyer apparently, and he said it does apply under certain circumstances. I'd go a bit further. When you have a monopoly, was there not once upon a time something called the Monopolies Commission? I don't know if that was a UK thing or an American thing, but when you have a monopoly like that, then is it right that we just say, oh, well, that's private corporation, they can do what they like, they can throw people off a platform, they don't have to give them a reason, they don't have to have any kind of tribunal? Because I believe it should be regulated. I believe YouTube, all the social medias should be regulated. So that in the event that someone has their channel taken down, or they're thrown off Twitter for whatever reason, then there are laws that platform has to give them an explanation, and that they have a proper right of appeal, like an online tribunal, however that might work, to stop this. Because who decides what is hate speech? Are they elected officials? Is it an algorithm bot? Is it an individual? What does that individual believe in? Is that individual a perfect human being? Is that think tank a group of perfect human beings that feel free to lord it over the rest of us and judge? I don't know, lots of mind-blowing questions. So, apart from anything else, we finally put our fairly pathetic Christmas tree up. My heart's not really in it today, but I'm going to go to the shop and get some new baubles, and we're doing some plumbing on our bath, which is really involved. So, it might be missing for a day or two. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear, because I've noticed through Meghan Markle and Harry, if you're rich, maybe you can pay for a lot of PR, a lot of bots, and you can start swaying opinion. I think there's very much been that attempt. And okay, celebrities want to be popular and famous and earn more money, or narcissistic reasons or not, or philanthropic, I don't know. But what if you've got a seriously nasty piece of work? Start doing that. I mean, someone dangerous. And is there a link between people who are paid henchmen on the internet? Is there a link between them and celebrities, politicians? Again, I'd recommend go and watch the DUI guy interviewing Jason Goodman. Some of it is a little conspiratorial territory. It's not for me, only a little, but there's an awful lot of common sense, I think, being spoken there on that channel. In the meantime, I'm sure none of us will have to wait long until Meghan or Harry release something or other between now and Thursday. And I will try and catch up with you tomorrow. I'll check the newspapers. It's Sunday tomorrow, so in the UK, it's normally a big thing, Sunday papers. As always, look forward to hearing your thoughts and comments. Thank you very much for listening.